I'll solve equations with my right hand. And with my left, I'll take a potato chip. And eat it!
What is going on, guys? I am Spoons, and today we're going to try out something really fun. Very few phrases within the anime community can so immediately call to mind a specific scene from a specific anime so much as the phrase, potato chip. The potato chip scene in Death Note has become a little bit famous and a little bit infamous for its overdramatic presentation of a kind of insignificant plot point. Now, just to recap what this scene is about on the off chance that you haven't actually seen Death Note, or on the even offer chance that you haven't seen this clip before, basically, protagonist Light Yagami is able to write names in a magic notebook. Whenever he writes someone's name, they die. He uses this to kill criminals, but he's under suspicion of the police, so they set up cameras all over his house. So in order to prove that he is not actively killing criminals, he comes up with a strategy. While pretending to study for an exam, he actually places a small television set inside of a bag of potato chips. This television set is going to play the news, which shows the names of currently active criminals. Also inside of this potato chip bag, he tapes a small piece of a page of the Death Note and puts a tiny little pencil in there. His strategy is to try to see the names that are being broadcast on the tiny television, write down the names in the tiny scrap of paper, and then pull out a potato chip and eat it to prove that he is not actually doing anything weird. It's a pretty deceptive strategy, but the telling is so overdramatic that it kind of became a meme. Mostly for the delivery of the iconic line, "Then I'll take a potato chip and eat it!" Which is kind of hysterical. But that's not what I'm concerned about here. What I am concerned about is whether or not he would reasonably be able to pull this off. It's well established that the room is thoroughly covered with cameras and there are no blind spots. Further, the angle that he's sitting at makes it a little bit hard for him to actually see into the bag to look at the TV. So today I'm going to set out to find if this actually is possible by recreating the scene as closely as I can. So I have my bag of potato chips here, with a small piece of paper taped on the inside, and I have this teeny tiny phone that I'm going to use as a screen. On that phone I'm going to pull up a randomly generated list of names. The point of this being, I don't want to know what the names are ahead of time. My goal is to try to look at these names while it's in the bag, write down the names, and then pull out a potato chip without it looking like I'm doing anything strange. And I'm also going to set up cameras all over the room to try to mimic the pattern of the cameras that are displayed in the show. Now, we really only see about 2 of the camera angles displayed in the show. However, there is this really helpful diagram that pops up for about 4 seconds that shows the placement of the rest of the cameras. I think the most important angle to get is going to be this one, but I've also set up just a few more cameras just in case. There are a couple of ways that I want to test this. I'm going to test this out with my standard lighting setup first, but then I'm going to try to mimic the lighting of the show as well, because I have a suspicion that one of the biggest giveaways is going to be the glow given off by the display inside of the bag. We're going to have to see how well that one works out. Also, it's just occurred to me that I'm probably going to have to move this, so we may be using the integrated camera audio for the next bit. So apologies for the audio quality on that section. Then I'm going to try to watch the footage back and see if I can notice that I'm doing anything strange. Or rather, whether I can prove that I'm writing names on a scrap of paper. I think it's going to be pretty hard. So I'm going to go ahead and set up all the rest of the cameras, and let's get this test started. Alright, and this is our finished potato chip bag. We have our pencil and paper taped down in there, and our little screen with the list of names. Let's see how this works. Okay, all the cameras are set up, I'm ready to go. I did have to run to the store and grab a teeny tiny pencil, or rather a full-sized pencil, which I then sharpened down to a teeny tiny pencil, which was a massive pain, by the way, so you're welcome. But yeah, we're ready to get started now. So I've got my main camera here, which is not really for the camera setup. This is just because I like seeing my own face. I mean, just look at it. We've got our main camera back over here. Hello, main camera. This is the one that we actually see within the context of the show that Elle and the investigation team are watching Light from. And you can also see it on that map that I showed you earlier in the video. I took a little bit of liberty with the last camera angle because I really wanted to make it kind of hard. And so in that same map that I showed you earlier, there did appear to be kind of an overhead camera, but it was facing out into the room. I pointed it directly down. So we're gonna see how that works. And that is camera angle number 3 here. I don't know if you can see me, but hello, camera angle number 3. So yeah, and that's how we're setting this up. So let's see. Let us begin. All right, so I've got to write some equations out over here or something with my right hand. There we go. I don't know any math. And then time for a potato chip. I gotta be careful not to like take the pencil out. I should probably check the names first. So what I'm noticing right away is that sitting up here like this, I mean, I can't see the screen at all. I have to get back to about here to be able to make out like half the names. I wonder if there's a way that I can adjust the bag by like pop it open a little bit like that. That's not so bad. Actually, that works really well. So yeah, I can just hit a little like, and then, you know, write something else out over here, and then I can just go for a little. Oh, I'm right-handed. This is really hard. Also, it takes a lot of concentration to do two things at the same time, and I kind of don't have that concentration. Oh. All I'm saying is, if I were Kira, L would have gotten me by now. Okay, but I did actually write a name down. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna try one more time, try to be a little bit more subtle about it. So let's see if I can get another name here. Act like I'm searching for a chip or something. Oh, but I had to get a chip out afterwards, so it makes sense. Okay, so I gotta retry anyway. So we'll go for my stretch here, and we'll just go for it. So we've got. And then you grab your potato chip. And eat it! This is so much harder than I was expecting. I can't read my own handwriting. Okay, so one last thing that I want to test here. I want to test it in a more natural light, like the light I would actually have in the room. So I'm going to cut off my main lights here and just turn on the overhead light. Pew, pew. I'm also not really going to adjust like the exposure settings on this camera because I don't really know if they would have been able to do that remotely. So we're just going to leave it in this kind of dark state. I mean, the other ones I think do it automatically, but this one doesn't. This is still technically brighter, I think, than he actually had his room. So I can just kind of, I took the pencil out. I keep wanting to take the pencil out. And then I just gotta like, Yeah, I'm not really understanding this problem. That's why it's taking me so long to fish for this potato chip. Delicious. Light's going back on. Okay, so our test is over. Really kind of curious to see how that footage is going to come out. I think it might be. I mean, I'm terrible at this. Obviously, I'm not left-handed, so I can't really write it very well, which is going to be a problem for me at least. I feel like you could get around not being able to see the screen. You could fake a yawn, drop your pencil or something, look in there. I think you could get away with that if you were a better actor than I am. But just actually writing, it's gonna be rough. Let me cut off the other cameras right quick. So yes, we have my lovely note-taking skills here. It's harder than you would think to write something with both hands and attempt to make it coherent. Coherent is also not the word that I would use because, hold on, let me pull out my tiny display here, which is now covered in hot wing flavored chips, which are delicious, by the way. So here's what I managed to write on the slip of paper. And if you think that doesn't look anything like names, it's because it doesn't. This was actually me attempting to do it, and I wrote all the names on top of each other just because I believe he only had to write one name in the show, and I wrote 3, and they're all on top of each other, so unfortunately you can't see how bad each individual name's handwriting is, but I mean, you can get a good idea of how bad each of them were individually if that's what they look like on top of each other. Autofocus, please. Okay, there we go. Also, some of these names were kind of long. I think the shortest one that I got in was Tim Christie. The rest were like decently long, so. I don't know if it's ever established if light is ambidextrous, but that would be an extremely helpful skill. Another thing that I think this raises a question about the Death Note, as long as the writer intends to write a certain name and is trying to, does it matter if the text is actually legible? Like, where does the book draw the line? It's occurred to me that I should turn on my microphone for the rest of this. Let me go grab that. Okay, yeah, I definitely should have turned this on sooner. But anyway, now we're gonna go back and rewatch the footage and see if we can tell, aside again from my bad acting skills, can you tell just based on the camera that there was something going on with the bag? Okay, so first I'm gonna watch through the GoPro footage here and see what we can see. Okay, so right off the bat, just gonna pause here right quick. I don't see any sort of light coming out of the bag at all. I can't really see. I think I can vaguely make out the pencil from this angle. However, I used a yellow pencil, and in the show, I believe his pencil is black, or a dark color at least. And I mean, I can only barely make that out in this picture here. It's also very hard just kind of skipping through this. The arm of my chair here is kind of in the way of some of the shots, which is a little disappointing. But I did get that one shot in the opening that my main concern was about the light bleeding out through the bag. That was what I was really concerned about. I didn't see any of that there. Okay, once I've turned off my lighting lights, which you are free to make fun of me for their quality. In fact, please do. It might encourage me to buy some better ones. Because yeah, one of them is literally just a Home Depot clamp with a light bulb stuck in it. I forgot what I was saying. But yeah, basically what I'm getting at is that there isn't a perfect shot in here of me with the overhead light on where you can see the opening to the bag. The closest that I've got is like right here. You could see the opening to the bag just a little bit in this little cutout right in the corner. And I don't see anything in there. I feel like if I was going to see light, it would have been in this shot right here. So yeah, actually from this angle, I think my biggest concern is being able to see the pencil in that first shot, which again could probably be done away with pretty easily based on the fact that one, the pencil in the original was a darker color, and two, Death Note is, I'm assuming, set around the same time that the manga was released, which is around 2004 to 2006, somewhere in there. Let's look at the overhead camera. Yeah, my hand is like barely going in the potato chip bag, so that's a little bit sus, but not sketchy enough that I would really think anything about it. I do keep pulling the pencil out, which is, it's a hard reflex to stop. Yeah, so far that seems to be my biggest gripe with this angle, is that my hand is only in up to about here, so you can see like my wrist poking out. That's not where the potato chips would be, so I would almost think that the pencil would have to be further in. But if it was, you wouldn't be able to see the little screen in there. So that would be something to work around. Let's see how this looks in the more normal room light. Yeah, I super don't see any kind of light leaking out of there. And if I was going to see it at all, it would probably be in this shot here, because my head is casting a big shadow over the bag. And so I would think that would be a good environment for like light to leak out. And I really don't see anything like that here. Yeah, that's some really awkward angles that I'm having to hold my hand at. I think that was probably the most like damning shot, because I'm very clearly like doing this with my hand. Like it's not a natural movement at all. My big takeaways from this personally are that the light leakage is not nearly as much of a problem as I assumed that it was going to be, as long as you can control the brightness on the device, which granted, the brightness was not all the way down on that phone. It still had a little bit more that it could go down, and I was still very clearly able to see it. But the bigger problem was, one, the visibility of the pencil, and two, my hand movements. Both of those could be mitigated to a degree with better acting, and technically you don't have to write out the whole name all at once. You could write like one letter at a time, do multiple potato chips. That could work, but the problem that I would encounter is that the potato chips kind of have to be behind the screen, and so when you go to reach for the potato chips, you tend to like jostle the screen a little bit. So you could very easily knock it in a way that you were no longer able to see it. Plus, you did kind of have to lean back pretty far in order to be able to read the words. Again, you can work around it, but you would need to know this in advance. With all that in mind though, based on what I've seen, I think this is totally possible. I'm not gonna give it the 100% it will always happen, because it does vary a lot based on who is actually doing it. But yes, I definitely think that it is possible to pull off this stunt in this way. So in case you ever need to write someone's name down stealthily while your room is being monitored by a multitude of cameras, I really recommend the potato chip method. But that's mostly because I haven't tried any other methods, because I've never been in that situation before yet. But if I ever get there, I know how to deal with it. So I'm planning to make this a recurring series on the channel. With that in mind, drop a comment down below and let me know what scene from an anime you think is just a little bit or severely unrealistic, and that you'd like to have me test to see if you can actually do it. Within reason, I can't really shoot lasers or anything, but I'm not opposed to building props or simple machines or things like that to try to work with it a little bit. I wanted to do an easy but relatively iconic one to start out this series, but I think this is going to be a lot of fun. You can also follow me on Twitter and reach out to me there as well. I tend to check that a lot more frequently. because I have a problem. And lastly, you can join the Silverware Drawer, which is the official Discord server for this channel, through the link in the description, and get in on some of the discussion going on over there. But until next time, I have been Spoons, and thank you for watching.